Seek to speak.
So it really took a long time to reflect. How did I get so confident? How did I get so confident up to a point that I could just speak my mind, right? And there are two parts, right? A big two part. So the first part is consistency. And the second part is being present. And I want to explain the two parts. So the first part in terms of being present. So for instance, now I'm talking one person to 11 people. If I ask a question now, probably Ayn will be the only person who's like ready to respond.
Yeah.
Because she's ready, right? She's like, she has to listen to every single word I say, because when I stop talking, she's gonna have to start talking. But for the rest of you, you're like listening. And sometimes maybe you're just listening, you're not formulating a response, which means that when you get called out, you're not ready. You're like, right? It happens. So this is the first practice that I want everyone in this room to do. Whoever is talking, if the person is on stage and there's like 300 people in the audience, I want you to imagine as though you are having a conversation with the speaker on stage. You're ready to either have a comment, an opinion, or a question. Like you're ready to go, right? Never be passive. That's the first step, right? Because once you have that, even though you didn't voice it out, but your mind is so used to generating good responses, good insights, and you're just ready to verbalize it if you get called on, if you have an opportunity. Let's just say, talk, and then say, all right, any Q&A. If at that point, you're waiting for the queue to say any Q&A, then you start thinking, you are too late. You are not prepared. The boat has sailed. You've lost your chance, right? But if you continue to be present and suddenly they say, anyone has a question, you're like, I'm ready to go. Your hand goes up straight away. And that is why some women don't raise their hand, because it's not that they're not confident, it's that you're not ready. So if you're not ready, you won't going to raise your hand and only start thinking, oh, what's my question? You won't, right? So I think that's the misconception here. You may be confident, but you don't spend enough time preparing. Okay? So continuing on the be present part. So once you're ready, in your opinions, comments, and question, and given the opportunity, you raise your hand to speak up. So that's the second part. The second part is that you have to use your voice and like make a mark. Use your voice, because your voice, your questions, your comments, whatever that is, makes an impact, right? So voicing out makes an impact. And it could just be a question or a comment and whatnot. That's the next step. After that, you're really used to like verbalizing your question, learning. The third step is now not agreeing with everything that the speaker says. So like, for example, Ayn, right? Okay, I know you're moderating, you're kind of like writing down everything that I'm listening to, everything that I'm saying, you're just listening. But if we were to have a one-on-one conversation, then maybe you will feel like you are able to afford to contradict what I say. Maybe voice out your own opinion and say that, I didn't think of it that way. My thought process is this, right? It's not that you are disagreeing with me, but you're also confident in like showing up in a different perspective. You're showing your perspective. So it's almost like inviting a productive, in-depth conversation. That's another thing we don't have enough. When you talk with your friends, it's like, oh, how's your day? Oh, let's go to another fly cycle class. You know, nothing wrong with that, but where is the depth in the conversation? So you have, and I like that there's 11 of you here. So maybe you guys can like be friends with each other and just like buddy up and just, create a more in-depth conversation. Almost embracing the fine line of discourse, having public discourse. When I'm on Clubhouse and people like disagree with me, that's where the fun begins. When you agree with everything I say, then it's like, I'm not growing, you're not growing, then like, what's the point, right? So it's fun to engage in a debate. Okay, so that's the third step. So now that you're able to open up and engage in a debate, then finally, you're able to challenge and call people out and like, hey, I really don't agree with this because XYZ, these are my facts. And I know for real, like this is wrong, right? So for example, like if there's an organizer with like 10 panelists of males, and then you can kind of call the person out like, hey, why is there no diversity? You know, is there anything that I can do to help to bring diversity to your panel, right? Call to action, like be proactive. Don't just like, oh my gosh, this organizer, this conference, 10 panelists, so bad. Then what? What are you doing? Right? You're just complaining. It doesn't really help when you just challenge that way. But when you challenge, it's almost like I'm willing to play a part in making that difference. Okay, so those are my 4 steps, and I took a pretty long time to break those down. I reflected really hard on it, and that's my take. And I would invite you guys to kind of break it down on your own. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Come up with your own thoughts, right? Because you might have a completely different thought process on how somebody is able to be confident enough to challenge. The second part, which kind of goes hand in hand with being present, is consistency. And why do I talk about consistency? And it's really important to align with your core value. I mentioned just now, I'm here, I'm there. There's like so many things that I'm involved in. And if you're not consistent, if I'm another type of Ashley in Fly Cycle, I'm another type of Ashley in Lean in Malaysia, I'm another type in The Real Planner, I'm just like different persona and different core values in different organizations, that is going to be really bad. It's going to be really tiring, and it's going to backfire on me in a couple of like years when I diversify even more. So you have to find your voice and use it consistently in all involvement, in all activities. So that way, when people like, I guess, talk about you or like, try to like showcase your credibility, it's always going to be the same. And then you feel like, okay, I'm grounded and I'm authentic. I'm not, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but it's almost like if you have a different persona in every organization or involvement that you're in, that's a different form of imposter syndrome, because you feel like you have to act like a certain way to fit in, right? And that confidence only comes when you are comfortable embracing your own thoughts. You are comfortable voicing out that same thoughts over and over again. You're not just saying it to please somebody, but you're saying it because you really mean it and you really thought about it.
Seek to speak.